The morning sun cast golden rays across the palace courtyard where Prince Adebayo stood before the assembled council. At 17, he carried his grandfather's name and his mother's compassionate eyes. His father, King Rowan, sat upon the throne, his face revealing nothing, while Queen Elise watched with quiet pride from beside him. "The test of leadership has been a tradition for centuries," Lord Jonathan announced, his voice carrying across the chamber. He was a tall man with silver threading through his dark hair, son of one of the nobles who had once opposed Queen Elisa's reforms. Every heir must prove their worth before ascending to the throne. Prince Adebayo kept his shoulders straight. He had prepared for this moment his entire life, studying governance, learning the histories of both Altheria and Kazara, training in diplomacy and strategy. Yet something in Lord Jonathan's tone suggested this would be no ordinary test. "What is required of me?" Adebayo asked clearly. Lord Jonathan exchanged glances with several younger nobles behind him. "The kingdom prospers now, Your Highness, but prosperity has made us soft. Our fathers learned cooperation from hardship, but we who have only known abundance wonder, does cooperation truly make us strong, or merely dependent?" A murmur rippled through the council chamber. Marcus, now 70 years old but still sharp as ever, rose from his seat. "Lord Jonathan, cooperation saved this kingdom from ruin. It brought us alliance with Kazara and—" "Peace bought with humility," Lord Jonathan interrupted, though respectfully. "My question stands. Can the prince prove that our way is strength, not weakness?" King Rowan finally spoke, his voice measured. "What test do you propose?" "Let him govern a province alone for one season," Lord Jonathan suggested. "Let him face the real challenges of leadership without his parents' guidance or the council's wisdom. Let him prove the orphan's ideals can stand without the orphan herself to champion them." Queen Elisa's jaw tightened slightly, but she remained silent. Adebayo noticed his mother's reaction and understood. This was not just about him. This was about whether everything she had built could survive beyond her. "I accept," Adebayo said before his father could respond. "I will take the northern province. One season to prove that cooperation is not sentiment, but wisdom." King Rowan studied his son for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. You will leave in 3 days." As the council dispersed, Queen Elise approached her son in the corridor. "You did not have to accept so quickly, Adebayo. Your father and I could have protected me." Adebayo smiled gently. "Mother, you were chosen as princess when you were younger than I am now. You faced far worse than governing a province." "I had your grandfather Adebayo to guide me," Elise replied softly. "And I have you and father. Even from a distance, your lessons remain with me." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "This is not just my test, is it? They want to see if your legacy endures." Elisa's eyes glistened. "They forget too easily. Gregory warned me this would come. The next generation always questions what the previous one built." "Then I will remind them," Adebayo promised. "Not with words, but with actions." That evening, as Adebayo prepared in his chambers, old Gregory arrived, leaning heavily on his walking stick. At 78, he moved slowly but his mind remained sharp. "Your Highness," Gregory greeted with a slight bow. "Please, Gregory, no formalities. You've known me since birth." Gregory chuckled. "True enough. I came to offer advice, young prince. The northern province has been prosperous, but they have forgotten hunger. They have forgotten fear. This makes them complacent. What should I do? Remind them gently of what was lost and why it must never return. But more importantly, listen. Truly listen. That is what your mother did. She listened to an old merchant when kings would not." Adebayo embraced the elderly man carefully. "Thank you, Gregory, for everything you've done for this kingdom and my family." As Gregory departed, Adebayo gazed out his window at the kingdom below. Tomorrow, his true test would begin. Oh wow! Prince Adebayo just accepted the biggest test of his life. Will the orphan's legacy survive in the next generation? If you want to know what happens in the northern province, smash that like button and subscribe to Folktales by Inaya. Drop a comment. Do you think Prince Adebayo will succeed or fail? What would you do in his position? The answer is powerful. Share this story. Turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. 3 days later, as Prince Adebayo prepared his final belongings for the journey north, a royal messenger burst into the throne room where King Rowan and Queen Elise sat reviewing trade agreements. "Your Majesties," the messenger gasped, falling to one knee. "Urgent news from Kazara." King Rowan stood immediately. "Speak." "King Jabari has died, Your Majesty. His son, Malik, now rules. He has sent this message." The messenger extended a sealed letter bearing the royal crest of Kazara. Queen Elise felt her heart sink as Rowan broke the seal and read aloud, "To King Rowan of Altheria. My father's time has passed, and with it, his outdated sentiments. The alliance between our kingdoms was built on weakness disguised as cooperation. Kazara is strong and requires no partners, only subjects. You will send tribute of 500 cattle, 1,000 bags of grain, and 3 chests of gold within the month, or face the consequences. King Malik of Kazara." Silence filled the throne room like a heavy fog. "Tribute," Marcus said incredulously, having been summoned immediately. King Jabari and King Rowan built an alliance of equals. "This is outrageous. This is war," Lord Jonathan said darkly, entering with several other nobles. "The young king insults us deliberately. We must mobilize our armies." King Rowan set the letter down carefully. "War would undo everything both kingdoms have built. Thousands would die. Families would be torn apart again. But we cannot simply pay tribute." Lord Jonathan protested. "That would make us vassals, not allies. Every neighboring kingdom would see us as weak." Queen Elise spoke quietly. "When I first came to this palace, I learned that true strength is not in domination but in wisdom. Perhaps King Malik has not yet learned this lesson." "With respect, Your Majesty," Lord Jonathan said, "King Malik commands armies. Wisdom means nothing to swords." Prince Adebayo, who had been standing at the back of the chamber, stepped forward. "What if I went to Kazara?" All eyes turned to him. "Adebayo, no," Queen Elise said immediately. "Mother, think about it. King Malik is young, barely older than I am. He has inherited a throne and feels he must prove himself strong. I understand that feeling." Adebayo looked at Lord Jonathan meaningfully. "If I go as an ambassador, not as a warrior, perhaps I can help him see what his father understood." "And if he imprisons you?" King Rowan asked quietly. "Or worse?" "Then you will have your justification for whatever action you choose," Adebayo replied. "But if there is even a chance to avoid war, is it not worth taking? Is that not what cooperation means, choosing the harder path of peace over the easier path of violence?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "Your Highness, you are the heir. We cannot risk." "The entire kingdom is at risk," Adebayo interrupted gently. "If King Malik truly wants war, he will get it whether I go or not. But if he simply wants respect, wants to be seen as strong by his own people, then perhaps I can offer him something better than our submission." Lord Jonathan studied the young prince with new respect. "What could you possibly offer him?" "The truth," Adebayo said simply. "That his father's alliance made both kingdoms stronger, not weaker. That cooperation expanded trade, ended hunger, built prosperity. That true kings serve their people, not their pride." King Rowan looked at his wife. In her eyes, he saw the same fear every parent knows, the terror of letting their child face danger. But he also saw recognition. Their son was right. "If you go," King Rowan said slowly, "you will take an escort. Small, so as not to appear threatening, but enough to ensure your safety." "And I will go with him," Queen Elise said firmly. "No," both Rowan and Adebayo said simultaneously. "Elise," Rowan continued, If something happens to both of you, the kingdom will have you, Elise finished. Rowan, I have known King Jabari's family. I held Malik as a child during the treaty celebrations. If anyone can reach him, I can. And Adebayo needs someone who understands both kingdoms. The king and queen stared at each other for a long moment, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, King Rowan nodded. Very well. But you leave in 2 days, and you take Captain Samuel and 20 guards. No arguments. As the council dispersed to prepare, Gregory found Prince Adebayo in the corridor. Your grandfather would be proud, young prince. You choose wisdom over fear. I'm terrified, Gregory, Adebayo admitted quietly. Good, the old merchant replied. Fear keeps us careful. It's courage that keeps us moving forward. He patted the prince's arm. Remember what I told you. Listen. Young King Malik is angry, but anger often hides pain. Find the pain, and you may find the path to peace. The journey to Kazara took 5 days. Queen Elise and Prince Adebayo rode at the front of their small convoy, flanked by Captain Samuel and his guards. The landscape gradually shifted from Altheria's green hills to Kazara's golden plains, a sight that stirred memories in Elisa's heart. Mother, Adebayo said on the 3rd day, tell me about King Jabari. What was he truly like? Elise smiled sadly. He was a warrior who learned to be a peacemaker. When your father and I first met him, he came seeking alliance only because his kingdom faced famine. But unlike many rulers, he listened. He learned. He became a true friend. Do you think Malik has his father's heart? Every child has parts of their parents, Elise replied thoughtfully. But they must choose which parts to nurture. Malik has his father's strength. I remember Jabari telling me his son was fierce even as a boy. The question is whether Malik also has his father's wisdom. Captain Samuel rode closer. Your Majesty, we are being watched. Kazara scouts in the hills. Expected, Elise said calmly. They know we are coming. Malik sent the message knowing we would respond. As they approached Kazara's capital, a contingent of royal guards met them at the border. Their commander, a stern-faced man named General Hossan, greeted them formally. Queen Elise, Prince Adebayo. King Malik grants you safe passage to the palace, but your guards must remain at the border garrison. Unacceptable, Captain Samuel said immediately. We do not leave the Queen and Prince unprotected. You have my word no harm will come to them, General Hossan replied. But 20 foreign soldiers will not enter our capital. These are King Malik's terms. Adebayo looked at his mother, then at Captain Samuel. It's all right, Captain. We came in peace. We must show trust to receive it. Your Highness. That's an order, Captain, Adebayo said gently but firmly. Wait for us here. If we do not return in 3 days, then you may report to my father. Reluctantly, Captain Samuel agreed. Elise and Adebayo continued with just 2 guards as symbolic escort, following General Hossan through the capital streets. The people of Kazara watched them pass with curious eyes. Elise noticed the markets were busy, children playing in the streets, signs of the prosperity the alliance had brought. Yet she also noticed new military posts, soldiers on every corner, a tension that hadn't existed during King Jabari's reign. The palace was as grand as Elise remembered, but something felt different. Where King Jabari had welcomed visitors with open courtyards filled with music and laughter, King Malik's palace felt fortress-like, guarded and closed. They were led to a great hall where King Malik sat upon his throne. He was 24 years old, powerfully built with his father's strong features but harder eyes. Beside him stood Princess Nola, his younger sister, who was 16, the same age as Adebayo. She watched the visitors with keen intelligence. Queen Elise, Malik said, his voice deep and formal. Prince Adebayo. You received my message. We did, King Malik, Elise replied, bowing respectfully. And we have come to discuss it in person, as your father and my husband always did, as friends, not enemies. My father is dead, Malik said bluntly. His friendship bought Khazara nothing but dependence. Your kingdom took our grain during the flood, took our soldiers for your conflicts, and gave us nothing but empty promises of partnership. That's not true, Adebayo spoke up, stepping forward. The alliance brought trade that enriched both kingdoms. When drought struck your eastern provinces 4 years ago, Altheria sent aid without hesitation. When? Aid? Malik stood abruptly. We do not need aid. We are not beggars like. He stopped himself, but everyone knew what he had almost said. Like your mother once was. The silence was sharp as a blade. Queen Elise kept her composure, though Adebayo felt rage flash through him at the insult. Before he could speak, his mother placed a gentle hand on his arm. Your Majesty, Elise said quietly, I was a beggar. I was an orphan with nothing. And because people showed me mercy, because they chose cooperation over cruelty, I survived. More than survived. I learned that true strength lies not in taking, but in giving. Not in domination, but in service. Pretty words, Malik said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. But words do not make kingdoms strong. Power does. My father forgot that. Princess Nala suddenly spoke. Brother, perhaps we should hear them out. Father always said. Father is gone. Malik snapped. And I will not make his mistakes. Khazara will stand alone, strong and independent. Independent? Adebayo asked. Or isolated? There is a difference, Your Majesty. Malik's eyes narrowed. You are bold, Prince, to lecture me in my own palace. I speak only truth, as I hope to hear truth from you. Adebayo met Malik's gaze steadily. You sent that letter demanding tribute. But I don't believe you want gold or grain. I think you want something else entirely. And what would that be? Respect, Adebayo said simply. You want your people to see you as strong. You want neighboring kingdoms to fear you as they feared your grandfather. You want to prove you are not your father, because being like him feels like weakness to you. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Malik's face. King Malik descended from his throne, moving toward Prince Adebayo with slow, deliberate steps. General Hassan's hand moved to his sword, but Princess Nala raised her hand slightly, signaling him to wait. You presume much, Prince, Malik said, stopping just feet from Adebayo. You know nothing of the burden I carry. Then tell me, Adebayo replied, not backing down. Help me understand. Because I don't believe you truly want war with Altheria. War would destroy the trade routes, shatter the prosperity your people enjoy, and kill thousands on both sides. What would that prove? It would prove Khazara needs no one. It would prove Khazara can destroy, Adebayo corrected gently. But we already know that. Your armies are strong. Your warriors are fierce. No one doubts Khazara's power. What we question is your wisdom. Malik's jaw clenched. For a moment, Elise thought he might strike her son. Instead, he turned away, walking to the great windows that overlooked the capital. You want to know the truth? Malik said quietly. My father died beloved by his people. They mourned him for weeks. And do you know what they said at his funeral? They said, Jabari the wise. Jabari the peacemaker. Jabari who brought prosperity through friendship with Altheria. Every tribute, every praise. It was about his alliance with you. He turned back, and Elise saw the pain beneath his anger. Not one person spoke of his conquests in his youth. Not one mentioned how he expanded our borders, how he made other kingdoms tremble. All they remembered was his softness, his cooperation. His legacy, Queen Elise said softly. A legacy that makes him seem weak. Malik's voice echoed through the hall. I am his son. I inherited his throne. But all I hear is whispers. Will young Malik be as wise as his father? Will he maintain the peace? Will he continue to bow to Altheria? Bow. As if partnership means submission. Princess Nala stepped forward. Brother, no one thinks father was weak. They loved him because he gave them full bellies, Malik interrupted bitterly. But love built on comfort is fragile, sister. The moment hardship returns, they will turn on me if they think I cannot protect them. Adebayo spoke carefully. King Malik, I understand your fear. I face similar questions. Lord Jonathan and other nobles challenge whether my parents' ideals can work through me. They test whether I'm truly worthy. But here's what I've learned. Proving yourself by rejecting what came before doesn't make you strong, it makes you small. Malik's eyes flashed dangerously. Choose your next words carefully, Prince. True strength, Adebayo continued, is having the courage to embrace what is good, even when others question it. My mother was mocked by nobles when she became princess. They called her charity cases dangerous, her reforms foolish. But she stood firm because she knew cooperation wasn't weakness. It was the hardest, bravest choice. I have enemies, Malik said, his voice rough. Nobles who question my legitimacy. Warlords in the north who want to break away. They watch for any sign of weakness. If I maintain my father's alliance unchanged, they will strike. Then change it, Queen Elise said, moving to stand beside her son. Your Majesty, you're right. Inheriting your father's exact path isn't enough. You must make it your own. What if, instead of paying tribute to us or demanding it from us, we expanded the alliance? Made it stronger? How? Princess Nola asked, interested. Joint military training, Adebayo suggested, picking up his mother's thread. Khazara's warriors are legendary. What if our kingdoms shared military knowledge? Your generals could train with ours. It would strengthen both armies and show your people that partnership means power, not submission. And trade councils, Elise added. Not just agreements negotiated by kings, but regular councils where merchants from both kingdoms meet, make decisions together. Give your people ownership of the prosperity, not just gratitude for it. Malik listened, his expression unreadable. There's more, Adebayo said. These reforms, this new alliance, they would be your creation, King Malik. Not your father's legacy, but your innovation. Khazara wouldn't be following Altheria's lead. We would be following yours. And your father, King Rowan, would agree to this? Malik asked skeptically. My father trusts me, Adebayo replied. Just as your father trusted you. He sent me here because he believes the next generation should shape the future, not just inherit it. For a long moment, King Malik stood in silence. Then he looked at his sister. Nola, what do you think? Princess Nola smiled slightly. I think father would be proud that you're not choosing pride over wisdom, brother. And I think these changes would make you a great king in your own right. General Hossan stepped forward. Your Majesty, if I may speak freely, the joint military training is an excellent idea. Our warriors respect strength. Training alongside Altherian forces, sharing knowledge, this would show partnership as power. Malik rubbed his face tiredly. I wanted so badly to be different from my father. To prove I could stand alone. Standing alone is not the same as standing strong, Queen Elise said gently. Your father understood that. And now, so do you. 2 days later, Queen Elise and Prince Adebayo stood in Khazara's great council chamber alongside King Malik, Princess Nola, and General Hossan. Before them, scribes prepared documents that would reshape the alliance between their kingdoms. The enhanced alliance of Khazara and Altheria, King Malik read aloud from the draft. Article 1. Joint military academies will be established in both capitals, where warriors from each kingdom will train together, sharing techniques and building bonds of brotherhood. Article 2, Princess Nola continued. A merchant council comprising traders from both kingdoms will meet quarterly to govern trade policies, ensuring mutual prosperity and equal voice. Article 3, Adebayo read. An exchange of scholars and healers to share knowledge in agriculture, medicine, and governance, strengthening both kingdoms' capabilities. General Hossan nodded approvingly. Article 4. A joint rapid response force will be created to aid either kingdom in times of natural disaster or external threat, commanded alternately by generals from each nation. Queen Elise smiled as she listened. This was better than anything she and Jabari had created. This was the next generation taking what their parents built and making it stronger, more resilient, more equal. There is one more article, King Malik said, looking at Adebayo. Article 5. To seal this alliance and demonstrate our commitment to unity, I propose an annual summit where the heirs of both kingdoms meet to discuss challenges, share innovations, and maintain friendship across generations. Adebayo extended his hand. I accept, King Malik. Let our generation prove worthy of what our parents began. Malik clasped his arm firmly. Let us prove we can exceed it. As the treaty was finalized, Princess Nola approached Queen Elise. Your Majesty, may I ask you something? Of course, Princess. When you first became princess, when nobles doubted you, how did you find the strength to continue? Elise smiled warmly at the young woman. I remembered that I was not doing it for myself, but for all those who came after me. Every orphan, every hungry child, every person who needed someone to believe that a better world was possible. She placed a gentle hand on Nola's shoulder. Your brother will be a great king, princess. And I suspect you will be the wise counsel he needs, just as your father was blessed to have good advisors. I hope to be worthy of that trust, Nola replied. You already are. The journey home took 6 days. Captain Samuel and the guards were overjoyed to see them return safely, and even more pleased to hear of the treaty's success. As they crossed back into Altherian territory, Adebayo rode beside his mother in comfortable silence for a while. Mother, he finally said, thank you for trusting me, for letting me speak boldly to King Malik. You reminded me of your grandfather, Elise replied. He too had the gift of seeing into people's hearts, understanding their true fears and needs. Do you think Lord Jonathan and the nobles will accept what happened? I didn't govern the northern province as they wanted. I changed the test entirely. You did something better, Elise said. You prevented a war and strengthened an alliance. You proved that cooperation isn't just a nice ideal, it's practical wisdom that solves real problems. When they arrived at the palace, King Rowan embraced them both tightly. Thank God you're safe. When Captain Samuel's messenger arrived saying you'd gone to Kazara without guards, We're fine, father, Adebayo assured him. Better than fine. We've brought a treaty that will change everything. The council was summoned immediately. As Adebayo explained the enhanced alliance, he watched Lord Jonathan's face carefully. The older noble listened with growing respect. Your Highness, Lord Jonathan said when Adebayo finished, I proposed a test to prove cooperation was strength. You have done so beyond any expectation. Not only did you avoid war, but you transformed a hostile demand into a stronger partnership. You have proven yourself worthy of the throne. Marcus stood and began to applaud. Soon the entire council joined him. That evening, as the royal family shared a private dinner, old Gregory arrived with a request to speak with Prince Adebayo. Walk with me, young prince, Gregory said, leading him to the palace gardens where the orphanage Queen Elise had founded stood visible in the distance. I am very old now, Gregory began, and my time grows short. But I needed to tell you something before I go. When I first met your mother, she was a frightened child with nothing but hope. I gave her a chance not because I knew she would become queen, but because it was the right thing to do. You changed the kingdom, Adebayo said. No, Gregory corrected gently. Your mother changed the kingdom. I simply chose not to turn away from someone in need. And that choice, that small act of kindness, rippled out in ways I could never have imagined. He placed a weathered hand on Adebayo's shoulder. You carry that same spirit, young prince. Never lose it. The world will tell you to be hard, to be suspicious, to protect yourself first. But true leadership, true strength, comes from being brave enough to stay soft. Soft? Adebayo questioned. Soft enough to feel others' pain. Soft enough to admit you don't have all the answers. Soft enough to change your mind when shown a better way. Gregory smiled. Your mother stayed soft even when the world tried to harden her. That's why she succeeded. 3 weeks later, on the anniversary of King Adebayo I's death, the entire kingdom gathered for a ceremony. King Rowan stood before his people with Queen Elise and Prince Adebayo beside him. 18 years ago, Rowan announced, my father chose an orphan girl to be princess. Many thought him foolish. But he saw what others missed, that true nobility comes not from birth, but from character. Today, we celebrate not just his wisdom, but proof that his legacy endures. He gestured to Prince Adebayo. My son has shown that the values of cooperation, compassion, and courage are not mere sentiments, but practical tools for building a better world. The next generation has proven worthy. The crowd erupted in cheers. In the front row, elderly Gregory wiped tears from his eyes. Beside him, the children from Queen Elisa's orphanage watched with wonder, seeing proof that their futures held limitless possibility. As the sun set over Altheria, Queen Elise took her son's hand. Your grandfather would be so proud. So would yours, Adebayo replied, thinking of the parents she had never known, whose sacrifice had begun this incredible journey. In the distance, merchants closed their shops for the day, their businesses thriving from fair trade. Farmers returned from fields where crops grew abundant thanks to shared knowledge. Healers tended to the sick using techniques learned from Khazaran colleagues. And in every corner of the kingdom, people lived in peace, prosperity, and hope. The golden legacy endured. Not because one orphan girl had changed the world, but because she had inspired others to believe they could too. And that belief, passed from generation to generation, would shine forever. Yes. The legacy is secure. Prince Adebayo proved that cooperation isn't just his parents' dream, it's the future. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe to Folktales by Inaya. Drop a comment. What lesson from this story will you carry with you? Who in your life needs to hear this message? Share this entire series with them. This is the final part, but the message lives forever in our hearts. Turn on notifications because more powerful folktales are coming soon.